Thank you very much for coming. Today is Tuesday, September the 11th of 2025. This is the Committee of the Whole meeting for the Municipal Council. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're meeting on the traditional lands of Wasauwa First Nation, part of Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Item number 3, approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Turn on your microphone, please, Councillor Muse.
Yes, Mr. Warden, I'd like to add on, sponsor the strongest man in Canada for the world competition.
So we'll put that under 9.3 under new business. Strongman, you said?
Yeah, strongest man in Canada.
Is there any more additions or deletions? Councillor Lauren Cushing. Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to have, there's a community wellness and human and harm reduction presentation going to be made on October 8th at 6:30 p.m. at Nova Scotia Community College, and we're all welcome.
All right, so we'll add that for information under
information, yep.
7.2.5. I'll just put here Councillor Cushing invitation. Any more additions or deletions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Mooney, seconded by Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Item number 4, if there's any declarations of conflict of interest, please notify me, and I'll make sure your name is recorded in the meeting minutes, and please step away from the table until that item that you have any conflict in is completed. Item number 5, approval of the minutes. There's none here that I see. Item number 6, presentations. 6.1, the Sarah Corning Society, Jennifer White and Gary Stewart. All right, so all you have to do is hit the red button on your microphone, and I'll turn the microphone on, so you'll be live. Mike is, I believe, turning on the display. I can't remember who moved the chair, so the gallery that's here with us today will be able to see that, so hopefully it turns on.
Turn on the microphone. Turn on the microphone.
All right, so
To the very top.
Jennifer and Gary, thank you very much for joining us. Your presentation's 10 minutes, plus whatever council has for questions, so I guess I'll turn the floor over to you, and thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for having us, for this opportunity to present. Sarah Corning Society, Gary is the president of our society, and I am the secretary, and so we are here pertaining to our ask for wayfinding signs for the park that we have established, the Sarah Corning Memorial Park. So just a show of hands, who here is familiar with Sarah Corning? Great. Okay. There's lots of people here, and certainly in the town of Yarmouth, that are not familiar with who Sarah is and what her story is. So you can click to the next one. Click when you see me change here.
Yeah.
Sarah's a local girl. She's from North Chicago, and as inscribed on her gravestone, she lived her life to serve others. She was born in 1872 and died at the age of 97 in 1969. She wanted to be a registered nurse at the point in time in her life. Certification was not available in Nova Scotia. So Sarah went to New Hampshire, where she was trained and certified. And then at the time of the Halifax explosion, she returned to Nova Scotia to help with that in 1917. And shortly thereafter answered a call for assistance for the Near East Relief. and she went overseas answering that call to Greece and Turkey. We're going to talk more about the Near East Relief, as that is what she's most famous for. But I just wanted to talk about who Sarah was. She was a very quiet, humble person. When she retired, she came back to North Chicago and lived the rest of her life in her family home. Very quiet, very humble. She did not talk of the adventures that she participated in and experienced, and that is the reason why I myself did not know who she was, and many of residents in Yarmouth do not know who she is, despite the fact that many people around the world do know and revere her as a hero. So, what did Sarah do? As I said, the Near East Relief was the most famous of her experiences. This was a time between 1914 and 1923 when the Ottoman Empire was attempting to commit genocide against the Greeks and the Armenians and Assyrians in a place called Anatolia, which today is considered as Asia Minor. I have a quote here from a reference source, just to give you a picture of what was happening at that time. Christian minorities were forced from their homes, being specifically the Greeks, Armenians, and Assyrians. They were tortured, raped, murdered, or driven into the desert to die of starvation and exposure. And approximately 3 million people, Armenians, Greeks, and Assyrians, who were living at the time in their historic homelands, were killed due to these genocide attempts. Sarah happened to be in the Near East in a city called Smyrna at that particular time, and she wanted to make a difference. The picture in the top right-hand corner is the city of Smyrna, which I'm going to talk about shortly, but under the Turkish government, they set the city on fire, attempting to, and were successful in killing over 125,000 people. Sarah's main participation in this event was rescuing and saving orphans. And we see a picture on the bottom of Sarah surrounded by children, and then in the top left-hand corner, she's parading, just before the fire was set, parading a school of, orphanage school, the children to safety. The fire lasted 4 days, and as I said, between estimates ranging from 80,000 to 400,000 Greek and Armenians went to the beach waterfront to try to be saved, but many people died, leaving many children orphans. So Smyrna, it was a historic city. It's now known as Izmir in Turkey today. It's located on the Aegean coast, and it was a major ancient city. It was a significant port and commercial center, and it's one of the 7 churches that are mentioned in the Bible's book of Revelation. It's also home to the poet Homer. So think about this. Sarah, at the point in time that she was there, risking her life, rescuing children, was between the ages of 49 and 50 years old. So imagine you yourself throwing yourself in the center of a war zone to do what you feel you can do to save the lives of innocent victims, particularly the children in her case. It speaks to the character of who she was, and she not only saved children, but she had to get those children across enemy lines. She had to go up and personally confront armed soldiers. There's a story where she hit one who was confronting her with her Bible and knocked him to the ground so that she could get the children past those lines and to safety. So just to go over these pictures, there's a picture of Sarah in the top right-hand corner. She managed orphanages in Turkey, Armenia, and Greece. And on the top left-hand is an example of an orphanage. It's a really far distant one, but it is a picture of an orphanage in Greece. Just below that is an orphanage in Corinth, the city of Corinth. Apologize for my pronunciation. And the quote of a Bible verse, Corinthians there, that is children, many, many children standing on a beach forming that passage title, and just that's what they held to for hope. On the bottom is a picture of many people that the had asked to meet in Athens so that he could present awards of bravery to them, and Sarah is in that picture. So why do we want to recognize Sarah? We feel that she's a local hero. She's also revered around the world. Many Armenians credit Sarah with saving them and their people. And they established a center in Toronto in 2012 for the education and prevention of genocide. And they dedicated that center to Sarah Corning. They call it the Corning Center. I've given a quote from their website as to what they do, but I just wanted to bring attention to how important Sarah Corning, our local girl, is to people around the world. Markham, Ontario, a year or two ago, erected a statue of her in their honor, and I'm sure we've all heard of George and Amal Clooney. Amal is a international barrister and a human rights activist, and George and she have set up a foundation for human rights, and Sarah Corning is prominently noted within their website. So many people really do revere her. So our society's mission is to raise awareness of Sarah and her story. It's one of inspiration, and it shows how the action of one can have a significant impact on the lives of outcomes of many. This message is timeless, this story is timeless, and it's really relevant and will always be relevant in the news, as will always be war, unrest, discrimination, and even recent assassination and political weaponry of events that occurs. If we don't know our history, we're apt to repeat it. And so it's important to educate people on history. And how can we make a difference in going forward? So some of the things that we as a society have done is there's an information plaque about Sarah on the Water Street, just below Frost Park. We've installed a quote, a partial from a sentence of Sarah in a letter she wrote in front of the Yarmouth Elementary School, which is shown there. Education is what all nations need to advance. We've installed a statue of Sarah at the former Zion Baptist Church site, and just a couple symbols explaining the statue. The wagon wheel indicates progress going forward. The children in Sarah's arms and her hand are guiding them and taking them to safety, and the little boy is holding a pomegranate, and a pomegranate symbolizes life, death, fertility, and rebirth. And standing next to the statue are some Armenians that came over during the unveiling of the statue, and it was one Armenian who had designed through assistance with the society and made the bronze statue and shipped it over to us for installation. So the Sarah Corning Memorial Park, we're having a grand opening. It's scheduled for a week tomorrow, which is September 19th at 10:30 a.m. I hope you've all received an invitation to that. The park is located next to the Chicago Baptist Church, and which is where Sarah is buried, and it's across the street from her homestead, which still is standing and in good shape. This is just an artist's rendering of the park. Unfortunately, I don't have recent photos, but hopefully you'll be there at our grand opening. It really is a quaint and private section, so the church is here, cemetery is here, there's a field, and then our park is in the left-hand corner. It's a stoned and treed enclosure area. We don't have an obelisk. Instead, we have two plaques. One is a picture of Sarah, and the other is an information plaque, and a bench where people can come and sit and just relax and reflect. So our ask again is for 4 wayfinding signs so that people, locals and tourists alike, can find the Sarah Corning Memorial Park. In your presentation, I've indicated where we would like those signs to be, one at each end of the Peterson Road, one on the main shore where you're pointing to Cape Forshue, to have another sign pointing straight towards the Peterson Road, and one at the corner of Highway 1 and Session Hill pointing up the hill towards the Peterson Road. We feel that this is a win-win to our society and to the municipality, as the more landed locations where tourists and locals can visit, the better, more attraction and desire to visit our beautiful end of the province and beautiful area, and it shows demonstration of pride in a local and international hero. Thank you again for your grants that you have given us, assisting us in development of the park, and for the opportunity to present to you today. Gary will answer any questions that you have.
I also will mention about the children's book. We're developing a grade 6 children's book, story of Sarah, told by a mother of a daughter named Sarah. It's kind of cute. But, and written by Ian.
Ian White?
Yeah. And illustrated by a high school student. And I've been introducing the book to the grade 6s around the area. We're hoping they'll be at the opening. They've all been invited. And it's been received really well. Yeah. So any other questions?
Well, thank you very much. I don't know who the first one was on. Councillor Phil Mooney.
Yep. Thank you, Jen, for the presentation. I've learned quite a bit about Sarah Corning over the last several years when they were doing the statue at the former site of Zion Baptist Church. For the CAO for process, I know we don't do monetary requests at the time of a presentation, but can we put and it won't be going into the next budgetary year because there's still going to be a lot of design work and a whole lot of other stuff. Can I make a motion to refer it to the budget process for the year, for the next fiscal year?
Typically, we don't make a motion, but I can't stop you.
Yeah, I just don't want it to be lost. I just like to think that it's going to be a little while before you get the design work and some of the other things, and there's opportunities. I know we have some wherewithal and capacity within us to, there's all kinds of ways to do signage, and there's other avenues through provincial and federal counterparts that we can get some money. So if we put it, I'll just make a motion that the signage request from the Sarah Corning Society be referred to the budgetary process. So that's not promising any money, but
That's true.
that's just getting it in the queue and we can do some work. So,
Just hold on, I'll get that seconded before you go on. Seconded by Deputy Warden Trevor
So,
Cunningham.
when she came back home, when she moved back to Sheboygan, the house that she went in, is that the family homestead?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my understanding,
Yeah, and
yes.
it's right on the corner of the Peterson Road.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bottom corner.
okay,
Yes,
good.
yes.
Okay.
It was in your presentation, I failed to mention, Sarah's credited with saving at least 5,000 orphans on her own. And not only did she raise them, but she taught them their cultures. So, yeah, I forgot to say that, so just wanted to throw that in there.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion on that before I open up? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. All right, next one. Councillor Lauren Cushion.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Sarah Corning, I lived in, well, number one, that's my district that I represent. Number two, I lived in that area for 73 years, and I never knew anything about Sarah Corning until the last few years or about it, and it's very interesting, and I know where the Chicago Cemetery is. My mother and father are there, and I know where it's going to be located, whatnot. I've been down where the plaques are now, whatnot. So it's a great thing to honor such a wonderful lady and what she's done to save people and to help people and whatnot, and never look for any glory from it. So I think it's very important that we recognize that. And I got to say, the statue that's in town at or the monument that's in town where the church used to be is wonderful. It's great, so definitely will support anything we can do to help.
Thank you.
Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
Yeah, thank you for the wonderful presentation. It is, I've heard the story number of times, and it's fascinating. I mean, that's a very significant event on the world stage, with all those souls being lost, 3 million, and I mean, it's very controversial, obviously, in terms of in terms of how people view history around the world, especially in Turkey. Obviously, there's some I guess different opinions about the event, but horrible set of circumstances, and a wonderful lady that made a difference in a terrible situation. I'm just wondering, like, are there any thoughts about sort of next steps? I mean, there's the homestead there. I would think it would be something that people would be tremendously interested in learning more about from both the local community and from outside our community. I mean, it's a very, very significant world event that probably isn't talked about nearly as much as it should be, and wonder if the society had any future plans about you know, maybe having a more permanent, well, I mean, obviously the park's permanent, but
Yeah.
but something that would act.
The next item we've been mostly working on is the book, getting it published. It's completed, but now getting it to a publisher and publishing it. And then getting it out to the kids, to the libraries and all that, yeah.
And hopefully
circulating.
into the school system.
Yeah.
Because it really is an inspirational story. Some other things that we do have in the future works is for Heritage Day is what it's called in Nova Scotia. There's always a nominee that's represented, and we would like Sarah to be on that list. So we're working on that. Although they're about 6 years out right now of naming, but we want to get her name. And we also want to approach the Government of Canada for a stamp, Sarah Corning stamp. So those are a couple of things that we have on our agenda.
Thank you. I'm sure council will be very supportive.
Thank you.
I see no more questions, but I do have a couple comments. In regards to the opening of the park on the 19th, that is on council's agenda a little bit later. So unfortunately, I cannot attend that event, but I'm positive there's others that will be attending on the municipality's behalf. I do believe Councillor Lauren Cushion had already mentioned that he would like to attend. And also, the Corning household, is it directly across from the church?
No,
It's down at the bottom of the hill.
yeah, right on the corner.
On the corner, be on the left-hand side, if you're
So-
going down the hill.
If you're going down the hill, it'd be on the right.
The reason why I ask is when I was a kid, my grandparents, Sherb and Joan Peterson, lived right on the top of the hill across from the church.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of times that she had mentioned Sarah's name about that, and unfortunately, they're both passed. And actually, you have my interest piqued because my mom obviously grew up in the area while she was alive. So actually, I'm going to be asking my mom a few questions about the Sarah Corning that lived on the bottom of the hill, if she knew anything. It'd be kind of interesting.
In the children's
Nice.
book, we have a picture of the house, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's right on the corner.
Yeah.
So if you were coming from Main Shore Road, or Main Street, Dayton, up Session Hill, turning onto the Peterson Road. Her house is on one corner, and then the church is on the other corner.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it is white.
Yeah, you could see the house from the top hill where my grandparents lived, so.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much for your presentation. It's always good to learn some local history and local heroes in our area, and we will certainly advise you on who will be attending that ceremony.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jen has a leg.
It's stiff, but it's getting better.
Councillor Mooney knows all about stiff legs and hips.
Me and Jen had a discussion one time on Main Street.
All right, moving on, item 6.2, Gardner's Mill Dam Homeowners Association. We have with us today Mr. Michael Taveras and Brooks Peterson.
Right.
Your microphone is on, so whenever you'd like to start,
Okay,
the floor is yours.
great. So I'm not sure if you all know the history of the Gardner's Mill Dam project that we took on. Actually, I headed up in 2008. Gardner's Mill Dam was built to power a sawmill for the Gardner's family in the 1840s. It remained in their family until around the 1930s. Two sisters, and direct heiresses to the Johnson & Johnson Company, acquired all of the land out there in the 1930s, and they rebuilt the dam, and they tore down the mill, and they called the lake, which was the Annis River, dammed up Sisters Lake. And it's been a recreational a lake for most of its history from that point. Back in the early 2000s, the property had always been privately owned, that where the dam sits. It was owned by the Vacon family for many years. Chris and Judy Beshara were basically in charge of it for their family. And they maintained it religiously for many, many years. The dam in 2005 collapsed. The center rotted out and it emptied the lake. Fisheries Oceans Canada was unwilling to let it go back up. I, being the heritage guy that I am, felt that that was a piece of heritage that needed to be preserved. And so I took on the project, and I was a member of the board of directors for the Heritage Trust of Nova Scotia at the time. And I had them partner with me. We did a presentation, which you can find on YouTube, of the project. And we went, I took it to Fisheries Oceans Canada. They were not going to let us do it at first, and I kind of challenged them and said, well, if you're going to put them current codes against this property, you have to reimburse all the people who live around this lake for the loss in value of their property. And once I played my real estate game, they came around and said, okay, we're going to let you put it up. You've got 8 weeks, and we want a fish ladder. And we want it to be built the way it was, and you have to fund the whole thing. The total project cost $100,000. We raised $75,000 from all the directed people who owned properties around the lake, who had been suffering with basically a mud hole for about 8 years. Heritage Trust gave a gift of $5,000, and we got a bridge loan from the Heritage Trust for $20,000. That made our budget. And the dam went back, and the fish ladder went in. Very shortly after that, we had that 20-year rainstorm. And it overflowed, it tore apart the dike system, and it emptied the lake out again. I don't know how we did it. Sometimes I just don't know how we did it, but we put it back up. And it's been managed since. Part of my requirements when I did the project were that the Besharas had to be willing, the Vacon family had to be willing to gift the property to our homeowners association, and everybody who contributed, all the abutting properties that paid for this, would be have a board of directors, and would be filed with joint stocks, and they would run it as a like a condominium association. And it's basically a very significant piece of infrastructure because the values of all those properties has significantly gone up because of it being on a lake. So it's important that that be preserved. After I finished the project, I stepped aside and then turned the new board onto it, and they did pretty well with it for a while. But then we had a lot of property ownership changes. and the association kind of went by the wayside. And the dam started to deteriorate again. And if you remember recently, it was in pretty rough shape. We've since completely restored it again, and it was done by a handful of people. We've now got a new board of directors. I am, for 1 year at this point, I'm willing to be the vice president. Brooks Peterson is the president. He's the new owner out there. This is our secretary, who is their partners. And so we have a 5-member board. Why we're here tonight? The problem, what was intended from the day one, was that there would be a $150 or $200 amount everyone would pay in to the association so that the continued maintenance of this dam would be handled. And in the beginning, it happened. But again, things kind of went by the wayside. So now with putting it back up, which we've just recently completed as of like yesterday, and it was luckily with a lot of generous gifts, we now need to put this on a firm footing. Now, this is a provincially registered heritage property. There's matching funds annually for us for maintenance work. There's a lot of positives with that. So what we're trying to do now is how can we streamline the collection of this annual stipend from the PID property owners around it. There are 41 properties that directly are on this lake who directly benefit from this. We looked at a budget, and we think that $150 initially would be where we'd like to start for every year, and then we could adjust that as things went on in the future. I mentioned to John, the warden, at the car show actually, and I said, is there a way, a mechanism that we can have you people levy these properties to the tune of $150 a year as some kind of a betterment or whatever you want to call it, so that we don't have to run around with a tin cup every year and, have a discussion for 3 days about $150.
With 41 people.
With 41 people, and some of them don't even live here. When we initially raised the 70, I was dealing with people in Germany and the States, all over the West Coast. There's a lot of properties and they're all owned by people all over the place. From a preservation standpoint, and this is my position, I think it's important that this piece of our infrastructure stay alive. I also see the tremendous benefit having all those homes on a lake gives to the municipality by way of taxation. Obviously, those houses would be worth a whole lot less money if they sat on a still water, which is what it's called. So that's kind of where we're coming from, and we wanted, and John had indicated at the car show that there were mechanisms where roads, for example, that were shared and by a series of property owners, that you guys had some kind of a levy system in there to collect maintenance money so they could be maintained. I guess they're privately owned. And so it's sort of the same thing. And so we're just kind of jumping into this saying, how can you help us so that we can do our job and not have to find ourselves banging on doors.
I will add that as recent property owners here, we've been here a little over a year, and the dam was always crumbled. The bridge over it was crumbled at risk of tearing the dam down with it. So we knew that we needed to repair the dam, and there was an informal meeting in September of 2024, and everybody was nodding and agreeing, okay, we'll pitch in $200 a year, gladly. Everybody that they could round up for a meeting then. Laura and I were not on the board at that time. Then we had another meeting in June, and there's general agreement from everybody, yes, we'll pitch in $200 for this. That's what they're willing to do. And 150 was historically what they were doing. Some people are reluctant to, some people are more willing to, but we agreed to be on this to repair the dam and to repair the dam committee, because our association went into revoked status with the Registry of Joint Stock Corporations. We've put it back in order so that we can get insurance on the dam and so on. And so we just did it on the condition that we don't have to run around with a tin cup, as you put it, and kowtow to people and say, oh, thank you, and $20, and drive that into town and checks and all that. We just want an easy mechanism for collecting the funds.
A lot of people get it. A lot of people get it. It's not like this is a big struggle.
Yeah.
But we've got a few people who feel that they are entitled to have that lake, and they don't feel that they have any obligations to the dam. And that's just not the case. And so, yeah, I think this is a way to keep all that infighting from happening out there, keep it a harmonious group of people, and equitable, and protect the dam. We also have an obligation to the provincial heritage property owners, to the province, to maintain the dam from waste. It's the only dam that's registered in the province. It's the only dam in the country that was given a reinstatement permit by Department of Fisheries Oceans. So it's a significant thing. After I finished the dam, I got inundated by calls from all over this country, people wanting me to go and help them put their dams back up. I wasn't gonna go do that. But we're proud of it. It's beautiful. You've all seen it, and that's. You have anything on to add, Laura? So maybe you can give us some guide.
I will add that we have an obligation to maintain it to the Heritage Trust standard, which means it can't substantially change its external appearance, and we can't demolish it, which you could do through dynamite or neglect, I suppose. And neglect is the way that it's been done in the past. So we have to maintain it by replacing it periodically, and that's why we need to collect funds for it. We also have to maintain the fish ladder in good operation. The DFO stipulated that with the building permit of the fish ladder that's there.
And just so that you know, just in closing about the construction, originally the dam had wooden uprights that sat in the middle and faced by tongue groove boards. When we put the dam back up in 2008, I was real hard about it staying a wooden, historic dam. I did compromise when that we poured concrete reinforced rebar pillars and we faced them in wood. So the good news is those aren't going anywhere. And so when we've now put it back up, we just pulled all the old rotten stuff off, put a whole new face on her, and she's back up, and now her deck's back together again. So, that compromise really, it was a stretch financially at the time, but for the long-term maintenance of it, it was the right thing to do. So we're looking to all of you and your expertise and how you could help us get to yes with this.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. I do specifically remember that conversation we had during the car show. But what I neglected to do is inquire a little bit more, because things happen throughout the summer, and
sure.
we had meetings with the Department of Justice and stuff like that. I was going to mention this to the CEO. And I also did mention that a similar thing was done, but that was in regards to road maintenance, in regards to the Golden Forest subdivision out there, which they are finally, I think it's up and repaired as of a couple days ago, actually, that the homeowners have all decided to move forward with that. And but I did not ask the CAO or staff in that regards on if this would be a project. And obviously, we don't make any decisions here during presentations, but we certainly can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add it to the next agenda to find out that information from staff if it's at all possible. And if council, number one, if it isn't, then maybe council would be warm to making some changes that it would be. Because it is a good mechanism to use to help a group of homeowners, a homeowners association, to move forward with a peace of mind of being able to collect the monies that you're talking about.
Right. And the benefit to the community is huge. I mean, the taxation, when we started this project back in 2008, those houses out there were just barely getting $100,000 for some of the nicer ones. And now the property values, as you know, are up in the $300,000-$400,000 range, which is a significant contribution to the benefit of the whole. And so if we can keep that dam there and that lake there, everybody wins.
Absolutely. Councilor Mooney.
That's the best damn presentation I ever heard.
I knew that was coming.
Well, that's the only damn presentation I ever heard. No, I think I did one at Lake Marlow. Michael, when it says the reinstated dam became a registered Nova Scotia heritage property, and I can see that some of the construction going right now, 2025, does Nova Scotia Heritage say anything about the repairs or the collapsing of the dam in 2024?
The only thing they said when I contacted them, they have a new director.
Yeah.
If we were going to make changes, it would have to have gone through their review committee, but we didn't. We just put it right back what was there.
Yeah.
So they don't really care as long as you don't make any significant alterations to it, but maintenance, which is what we did, was acceptable. Next year, we intend on going to them and asking them for some matching funds. If we put in a couple of $1,000s towards landscape, we'd like them to come in with some money and maybe do some informational boards or some kind of, story of the dam, which would be great. They'd be willing to do that. In the future, to your question, Phil, in the future, they did say if there was any significant alterations that they would require, and they would give us up to $5,000 for an engineer, but we don't need that. We didn't need
Okay.
that for this.
How many full-time residents out there out of the 41?
There are 41 PID numbers.
Full-timers, in the dozens, 12, 15, something like that,
Okay.
in that range?
And I got a question to Jenny. Are you still our acting heritage coordinator? That's Mark. But you still remember a few things. Has the municipality contributed to the project through our heritage
No.
fund? No?
No, it's not municipally registered. It's provincially
So,
registered.
so when we have a registration, could you register it municipally too?
Yes? You
So
could.
then you have an opportunity.
That's right.
And those funds are stackable too,
That's
Michael,
right.
right?
Yep.
So,
Same thing with the-
so
same
this
thing
is one of
with
those
provincial.
situations where you can see, like you said, with the collapsing of the dam, the lake not being there, the water not being there, the value in the property from what it is with a nice lake view, access to a lake, activities on there to what it is not there. There's a lot of avenues I think that we as a municipality can do, and I think that's one of those ones, it's like the previous presentation, to do the assessment, that wouldn't go on until the next
Which is
fiscal
perfectly
year.
fine.
Yeah, so
Also-
we have a lot of opportunity for the CAO, just what she wants, just a little more on her plate, a lot more for the CAO and our fiscal people to bounce some scenarios around.
And
But,
we're open to all of that, and the long-term goal, when we did this project, was there are several parcels that are in the view plane and that are directly abutting it, that are going to come available. And so the intent was, if Andy Racine's little sliver of land along the shore comes available, we could grab it, and we could have a couple of benches out there, because people go out there and they picnic, and of course, Andy screams and hollers when they go on his little piece of grass, but we could, put up some picnic benches, some informational boards. We want people to have a leisurely space there. And then there's some view planes that are very significant, like there's a small island right out that could be acquired. And so, as time goes on, hopefully the owners see the value in that and protect all those view planes, because it's really quite a special spot.
You're good? Good. All right, well, thank you very much for your presentation, and
We will be curious to know what the mechanism is by which you'd collect these funds. What do we have to do to notify people to do approval and stuff like that? Maybe after you talk to your CAO, we can be in touch.
I think she can talk right now.
So I do think the warden is going to have it on the council agenda later this month. Probably there'll be a motion from council, but there's already bylaw on the books. I was just looking at some definitions
Yeah.
while you were presenting. We may not have to amend the bylaw. There's a bridge across the dam.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we might not have to do any amendments.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got a walkway through it. You can walk across it. When we did the whole reinstatement, we cleared a swimming hole in front of it so the children could swim off safely into a swimming hole. We just met with the insurance company, so we're going to reinstate the insurance for liability. So it's actually quite user-friendly.
Actually, it is user-friendly. I've got a few of the best pictures of myself and one of my dogs that's passed about 6 years ago, and that lake was crystal calm and the sunset in the
That
background.
makes me happy, John. It really makes
So
me happy.
actually, I'll send you that picture.
Yeah, I would love it.
Via messenger when I can pull it up.
It's it's a beautiful dam, and especially when the spillway's working and the fish ladder and the fish are jumping. I mean, it's just it's really quite magical. You can sit out there all afternoon and just watch all this happen, and then the echo in there from the water is incredible. So, well, thank you so much, everyone, for this, and anything that you need from us, Victoria, we're happy to step up. We're not going to have, other than maybe a couple of people out there that would probably get a little squeamish. I think the general feeling is they're thrilled to see the dam back up because they were all panicking, and they should be. Because if it came down, it was probably going to be a problem. But we solved the problem.
Yeah, so we'll be curious to know what the mechanism should be for notifying people of this, who would do that, how it would be done, and if we need to change the amount collected in future years. So we might want to put some mesh over the fish ladder to keep kids from throwing rocks in there. The DFO would also like that, and other such improvements like picnic tables and so on. So we might
Yeah.
adjust it up or down in future years too.
Right.
We're curious
Some of
to
the
know.
things we can do as our five-member board, like we can assess, we can say, okay, this is what our budget's gonna be for the next year, blah, blah, blah. We think we should acquire, this property, or we think we need to do, we can do that stuff.
Yep.
This is a very functional five-member board, the way we wrote these bylaws. So it's just more of a, how do we, like, we could always decide how we, as an organization, notify people of the budgets or whatever's going on.
Yep.
It's however your
How we
mechanism
notify them
works.
to you is what I was asking, yeah.
Yeah, which might
Yeah.
just be assigning all the PID numbers, that, whatever that levy is, and,
We do have your contact information, correct, Brooks?
I think we should, yes.
Yes.
I know
I'm gonna
that
ask
Jen
staff,
Porter has,
so,
yeah.
so you do, well, I'm gonna ask to have this added to, an agenda in the future.
Excellent.
As
Thanks.
soon as possible,
Okay,
and, we'll get back to you, and
okay, good.
great.
we'll have a little bit more clarity, and as I mentioned before, I did talk to you, Michael, at the car show, but I neglected to ask the CEO because
That's okay. I mean,
there's a lot of
I
stuff going on.
bombarded you like everybody else did on the street. I wasn't gonna take that opportunity. I was like, right, ask Phil, he knows, I'm good at
There was
that.
probably 10 other things that was mentioned to me there that I totally forgot
I'm
about.
sure, listen, Phil couldn't walk down Main Street without getting attacked.
No problem with that.
Great, thank you
But
all.
I'm glad, I do remember mentioning that, said maybe you should come make a presentation to council and stuff, because I'm pretty sure that something might work that we already have in the works.
Within
or
10
something
minutes of
needs to
our
change.
conversation, I had him on the phone saying I had talked to you, so.
Yep, true.
We got on this right away.
Yeah, and I don't live far, and I know that space very well, and it's great just to sit there in that little area next to the fish ladder and just overlook, especially if
Yep.
there's no wind blowing and no flies.
Yeah,
Now, I think the band has a big tract of land out there too,
Yeah, they do.
Wassahoba, yeah.
1,500 acres or something. They've got they gave us.
2,800, yeah.
2,800 now? Okay.
It's just down the road by the Bashir property, and then you take a right down that road,
That's
which
right.
could eventually get you to,
They ended up like $5,000 when we did the original. Deborah Robinson was right there for it, so that was really great.
well, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
I'm sorry, Deputy Warden, did you have something there?
You said all the smart stuff earlier. He hasn't got anything left out.
I was just saying it's the private road. Nope. That's not.
All right, moving on for our last and final presentation. Save the best or worst for last, I don't know what it is, but Derek Robertson, our Director of Development Services, has a little presentation for us, and I don't know if your microphone is off. I'll turn you back on, and you have the floor.
All right, well, we'll try for best, but I think my material's a little dry compared to theirs, so see what I can do here. As John said, I'm the Director of Development Services, and I've just got a brief presentation on just updating you on the Development Department so far this year. So jumping right into development and building permits for January 1st up until August 31st. In 2024, we had issued 204 permits in that time period for a total value of $15,466,471. In 2025, it's a little less at this point, with 165 permits for a total value of $13,028,994. Of those, I thought it might be of some interest to you all to hear it broken out into how many of those were for dwellings, contributing more housing to the municipality. So in 2024, in the same period, 28 of those permits were for new dwellings, which includes year-round, seasonal dwellings, and mobile homes. In 2025, we had 23, so a little bit less again. And for multi-unit residential, we've not had many. 2024, we had one 2-unit dwelling. 2025, so far, all dwellings have been single unit. So that's kind of an overview of some of the numbers for permits so far. And then I wanted to highlight the site plan approval process. So those of you that were here for the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw major review, which wrapped up in 2020, January of 2023. You might remember the discussion around site plan approval for dwellings in the Lakeside Residential Zone. That was a new measure taken to help protect lake water quality at the request of residents who really saw that as a high priority. The site plan approval process is fairly complex. It's designed to put more controls and more specific controls on specific developments as appropriate. So it creates a bit of a higher workload for staff, and it also lengthens the approval process to including a 14-day appeal. So prior to this, to the adoption of the new documents, we had only had 3 site plan approvals on record, one in 2016, one in 2019, and one in 2021. With this change in our bylaw, we saw those numbers jump significantly. So in 2024, there were 7 site plan approvals for dwellings in the Lakeside Residential Zone. That's for the whole year. And in 2025, we've done 10 so far. Most of those are through the summer, so I don't expect that number to change very much. But yeah, it's certainly driving a lot of activity there. So that's just kind of an awareness thing for you guys. We might see, as you would be aware, we have a review of the land use bylaw and municipal planning strategy, just like an interim kind of mini review coming up. So that might be one of the things we'll talk about. And then for subdivision applications, 2024 we had 23 applications, 16 completed as of September 1st, 2024. And so similarly, in 2025, we've had actually slightly more, so 26 applications, of which 13 have been completed so far, including one concept plan of subdivision that it's not completed, but is proposing 29 new lots on a private road. The subdivision numbers give you kind of some insight into at least what the private sector might be expecting for future development needs, kind of forecasting how many people are going to be looking for new lots and expecting to build. So that's it for kind of approvals and permits and that stuff. Next up, I've got fire inspection. So fire inspection is kind of continuing as always. We're identifying new additional buildings that require inspection that for whatever reason aren't on the list. And we're steadily progressing through the backlog of necessary inspections. Remediation of any identified violations has been going pretty well so far. Most people are cooperative when they understand there's a problem, and they're willing to work with us and get it sorted out and get things up to code. One thing that's contributing to the fire inspection list at the moment is our short-term rentals, which I imagine most of you have heard a little bit about. So those are required by the Fire Safety Act to be inspected, and so those are getting added to the list. I'll mention that again towards the end of this. And then our fire inspector, Tara, is pursuing a fast-track option for her Level 2 certification. Previous to this year, the FIANS, the association that responsible for the accreditations, has spaced out courses and availability so that it can take years and years to get all your courses for that Level 2 certification. This year, they've started a fast-track process that would allow somebody to do it in 2 years if they can make it to everything. So Tara should be able to round out all her requirements over this year, by the end of this year, and be ready to move into that qualification, which would be a real asset for us. So that covers fire, and then on to bylaw enforcement. As you get, we're already doing frequent reports to you guys, so you're kind of aware of what's going on in that space. Most files are progressing adequately through cooperation with the individuals that are involved. As you know, the SPCA has kind of put the dog bylaw back on us recently. So we've got our first couple of calls come through and triage them. There has only been 2 so far, neither of which were major complaints, like they weren't fierce or wild animal. It was just for dogs at large or loose, and we've handled those as educational opportunities for the owners, helping them understand the bylaw better and bring their dog into compliance. So no enforcement action has been necessary so far, which is good news. And then also to add to that, Tara has added bylaw officer duties to her position, so she'll be helping Dwayne out a little bit with this workload, which both creates redundancy for the bylaw enforcement position when Dwayne's not around, and it also allows our Dwayne to focus on his inspections during the busy season and provide coverage for any time off or anything like that. So that covers fire, and then we've hired a new building official and fire inspector combination position. So Jason Boudreau was hired for the position. He started July of 2025. His position provides redundancy for both the building official and fire inspector services, which are mandatory services that we have to provide. So if somebody's out, we can still do that. It also allows Modi to provide a higher level of service with low wait times year-round, which is something we take pride in doing for our residents. He's been appointed fire inspector already and accepted to finance. He's also been accepted to the Nova Scotia Building Officials Association as a regular member, and he will be beginning with the residential qualification program, which once he's completed, he can inspect Part 9 residential uses, so basically houses and the associated accessory uses. He's already shadowed 56 of his required 120 inspections, which is great. We got him in kind of at the beginning of the real busy season, so it's been good timing to get him up to speed really quick. And then he still has to complete 6 courses as part of that qualification. Those will be throughout the year coming. And then for other projects, you guys will, council, you'll remember we did our Cape Horseshoe sea level rise storm surge impact assessment presentation just recently. So that work is complete, and we're just awaiting a final written report from the consultant. So hopefully we'll have that soon, and we can use it to help make decisions on the future of the property. And then short-term rental permitting. So when the province brought into effect the new registration, we kind of scrambled to make some amendments to our MPS and LUB to allow us to work within that registration process. So we've got that all done. We're now issuing development permits for the use instead of the approval letters that we were using. This allows the property to be registered properly for its actual use and all the associated other requirements that follow suit. So as I mentioned earlier, fire inspections are required for accommodations. So now those fire inspections will be regularly scheduled for the short-term rentals in the municipality that have the permit. We're also supplying a letter which informs them, the owner, of the marketing bylaw levy and directs them to the website with which they can register. We've got that kind of streamlined to make it as easy as possible for hosts. And we get that as part of the permitting process, so they get their permit, they get registered and everything, and then we can kind of finally close the permit as completed. And then moving into the slow season, we should be able to pull the provincial, we're planning to pull the provincial registry data to identify any short-term rentals that existed before this and get them in for the permits and get them on these lists and make sure they're in compliance with all the other bylaws at the same time. So that's been a huge project over the past year, and it will continue to be so as we move towards some of these ones that maybe don't have all the paperwork up to snuff. And then finally, the MPS and LUB amendment that is currently underway is being made to bring the land use bylaw and MPS into compliance with amendments the province has made to their statement of provincial interest regarding wind turbine generator development. So that was reviewed by PAC, and we've currently got it slated to come to council for the October meeting. So you guys will see it then. I think that kind of sums it up. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Thank you very much, Derek. Yeah, it was a little dry, but a lot of information today. Councillor Phil Mooney, you have the floor.
Derek, on continuing to, this under the fire inspection, continuing to identify additional buildings require inspection. How do we do that? Is it drive-by? Is it people calling in? Is it somebody on one side say, have a look at something? How does that work?
You know, it's a little bit of everything. We certainly get some complaints from people that are, you know, live nearby, or even from residents that might be renting units that they feel aren't as safe as they could be. And then also, just as we get information that might contribute to other parts of the other municipal programs, so something like SOAR bylaw, where you're required, your pricing is based on units and bathrooms. Sometimes information that comes in as part of a SOAR permit will identify additional units in a building, and then there's a number of units where you are required to have fire inspection. So we try to collect it everywhere we can and get as complete a list as possible. Ultimately, it's the property owner's responsibility to tell us what they're using the property for, so that we know, but you know, not everybody does that, so.
Yeah, the other question is under some of the bylaw things for maybe unsightly is, I got a call on 2 properties, and then there's one I noticed the other day that were sold at the tax sale that are probably not of the same quality yard, like they got the signage in the window and they're that high full of grass now. So is there anything that we can do about that?
Yeah, so if you hear from somebody who wants to make a complaint, you can direct them to one of our, either to myself or our CAO or one of our bylaw officers. We accept complaints, written complaints, to start a case, and then we can investigate.
If somebody in the community is not, doesn't want their name to come forth on a complaint, can they forward it to their counselor in the district and they put something in? That's not a problem?
Yeah, you can talk to Victoria on kind of like or our CAO on a case-by-case basis. Generally, if somebody wants to make a complaint, we do require a written complaint with their name, because, you know, if we get an anonymous complaint about something and we go out and say to the person that lives there, hey, are you doing this? And they say no.
Well, this is
what's
for,
next?
the ones I'm talking about are ones that have been bought at tax sale. So they're not going to do anything to that property until they know it's not going to be redeemed. Until they own it, it's not going to be redeemed. And there's one is my brother-in-law's parents used to live in this property, and it's probably one of the nicest properties in Yarmouth County, and you drive by it now, it's in Deerfield. It's a field. It's a field with the top of with the roof sticking out of it, right? And it's not anything like any of the other properties around it. So, you know, that's my district. I could make the complaint, but it's just not conducive to what the other properties are around it. That's all.
Yeah, no, you can certainly send that to us.
Okay. And that would be, if something did have to be remedied on a property that's been at a tax sale, and that's deemed, that could go back onto the taxes, right? Or back onto what the person has to redeem them for.
So, actually, when a property is in limbo like that, applying costs in relation to enforcement, we would require a legal opinion on, because when the property was advertised at tax sale, it was advertised for what was outstanding, and that impacted what people were bidding on it and had to bid on it. And then if extra costs are added between when the tax sale happened and redemption happens, if the property was sold at tax sale for more than what was owing, then somebody could have an application pending for the surplus at the sale. I highly recommend council refrain from bylaw enforcement on a property that's in the redemption period from a tax sale.
You good?
Not really.
Yeah, get my whippersnip real Looks like Darrelin's going to Deerfield.
I was going to say, I'd like to see that, but Councilor Muse?
Derek, thanks for the presentation. I don't find this dry at all. I find this really interesting, actually. We have 39 permits less at this point from 2024. What do you, with the beautiful weather that we've had all summer long, what would you guess would be the contributing factors to having 39 permits less? Is it the staff shortage that we've had? I mean, I know we just hired Jason, but people thinking they can't get inspections done fast enough. I'm just shooting out there, but these are just things that I've heard on the street, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know. I would tend to put it more towards external factors. I mean, the fact is, if you really want to build a house, and you're going to do it whether you have to wait 2 days or 2 weeks for your inspection and your permit. Our response times are still better than many municipalities. I think likely it's more external factors, you know, whether that be the economy or whatever else. It's hard to, it can be hard to judge exactly why it might have slowed down. And last year and the year before were unusually high, so I wouldn't necessarily expect to see constant growth year after year of that kind of scale either.
So you feel this is, we're at a pretty good number then?
Yeah, I think we're holding.
Okay,
yeah.
good, thank you.
All right, any more questions for Derek Robertson? Seeing none, thank you very much, Derek. I hope you can take a joke that wasn't that dry, as Councilor Muse said, but like they say, if you're not having fun what you're doing, then you're making fun, you shouldn't be doing it.
Having a great time.
Thanks, Derek.
Thank you very much, Derek. All right, moving on. Correspondence for action. Item 7.1. Submission request letter, cost share agreement for the paving of subdivision J-class streets. Madam CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as we get every year, we receive the correspondence from the province of Nova Scotia, providing the municipality with an opportunity to nominate projects under the 50/50 cost-sharing program for roads that are in the cost-shared program between the municipality and the province. A number of years ago, I'm going to say 5 years ago, when the program intake opened up, our then engineer and our director of public works did an assessment on roads in the program and used metrics like residential density, adjacency to public schools or public services, level of deterioration of the road. They had a number of metrics that they used, and they came up with 4 projects to recommend council set as their priorities for this program. And as projects were awarded, just keep moving projects up the list. So if you recall, Park Drive was the #1 project on the list, and Park Drive was awarded this year. So in your package this evening is a recommendation that Hillside Drive Hector Street, and Churchill Street in that order of priority be submitted as nominated projects for this intake period.
Deputy Warden.
So all worthy projects, all three of those, and they're all 0.2 kilometers long, each of them. So I'm hopeful we may be able to get more than one in a given year, but I understand the provincial funding, everybody understands the provincial funding is limited with the J-class streets. So in any event, having said that, and I was definitely pleased to see Park Drive that's being done, so that's a fantastic, the upper reaches of it, the J-class portion, that's a great news story. So I'll recommend that to regular council that the 25-26 J-class road paving projects be submitted to the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Jim Baxter. Discussion on that? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, item 7.1.2, the Yarmouth International Airport Corporation Airport Change of Name. You all have in your package there a letter addressed to me from the airport board. In there, it says that the board is about to award a contract to a consultant to undertake another visioning and branding exercise, and they want to develop marketing collateral and website renewal and all that other stuff, and it's well needed. But also in there, the board was talking about a possible a name change of the airport. So what you have in front of you is a request from the Yarmouth International Airport Corporation Board asking council's permission, and this is going out to the other two owners of the airport, which were the municipality of District of Argyll and the town of Yarmouth. They want to know your position on this idea before they go head too deep into the assignment on this. So, Madam CEO, you have any more to add?
I do, Mr. Chair, thank you. So through you to council, the request is not to agree to change the name of the airport. The request is to agree to explore the idea of a new name.
So I'm going to be on the Phil Mooney train of making motions. And I know, we could recommend it to regular council, but given that, I mean, is there any need to recommend it to regular council, or can we just do it tonight, Madam CEO?
Yeah, I think committee of the whole could make a motion for council to write a letter to the board congratulating them on their work and supporting philosophically the idea of a new name that fits the new vision.
So I'll move that, is with the wording that the CEO's provided.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Second. Second by Councillor Phil Mooney, and this was a recommendation to regular council, correct?
No, actually, it's not, Mr. Chair. Yeah, it's a motion of committee of the whole that council write a letter. So just because it's just a letter.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Discussion, Councillor Phil Mooney.
So, and maybe we could, I support the motion 100%. So, once they do their vision, then there might be a name change in the, right? So, it's going to be, it's not like that one to Newfoundland. A couple of years ago, Newfoundland welcomes you, then they spend $500,000, and the new logo was "Welcome to Newfoundland." So once they do the vision, they might have some component in there that there could be an opportunity for a name change to encompass what they do out at the facility right now. And I'm with it 100%. There's some work to do out there, and I know we have a dedicated staff person out there now that's going to be there full-time to look at this, so I'm comfortable with the motion myself.
So what you're saying, that's $500,000 well spent?
No, I didn't say, no, that's Newfoundland. I don't know what we're going to spend about $80 on this one.
All right, any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I don't know what's going on tonight. I feel like I got a case of the giggles.
Full moon.
Yeah, it must be a full moon.
You know what it is? Fireman's Day Carlton get giddy. It gets all giddy every time. See them big trucks.
Yeah, get ready to see you at the front of the entrance there. I'm not going to say no more on the account. I might get myself in trouble.
No, you will get yourself in trouble.
I probably will. All right, next item on the agenda, item 7.1.3, invitation to the official opening of the Sarah Corning Memorial Park. You all have that in your package, and we also had that presentation by the group that there's going to be a ceremony Friday, September the 19th at 10:30 a.m. I had already indicated that I cannot attend. Ma'am CEO, do you have any?
Yeah, so we just want to support the group by maybe quarterbacking the RSVPs. They want to be sure they know who's going to be in attendance. So if you could just let Jenny know either verbally or by email. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
3.
Yep. And I think there may be an opportunity for remarks, so our communications officer will work through Jenny's office to prepare the deputy warden and the district counselor for that.
The reason being that I'm going to may not be able to make that is because unfortunately my job requires in the mornings that I have booked people coming in. Now, that's not to say something that could change if I can attend. In previous instances, I have attended different events that I wasn't scheduled to be at. The last one that I can remember was Greenville Community Center. We had a thing out there that wasn't expected to show up, and then I could eventually, but I'm glad to see that we have a whole bunch of you that are attending. So as the CEO said, just make sure that you notify Jenny, and she'll send that out to them. So thank you very much, everyone. All right, item 7.1.4, the bench request at the Port Maitland Cenotaph. Madam CEO?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I did a little bit of homework on this one, and it's my understanding, and Councillor Baxter, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the two benches that are out there are the cement brackets with the 2x4 wooden slats. Yep, so we can absolutely go out there and replace the wooden slats, and I know the writer thinks that one bench is enough, but we do have a third bench, and just...
Wooden slats that are drilled in, they don't...
Yep.
Turn on your microphone, please.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, so we can do the repairs. Yep, we can do the repairs on that. And there is an additional bench that can be redeployed as well. So we have the resources to go out there and make sure everything's repaired and in proper working order. Yep.
Perfect. Great, easy.
You're welcome.
Needed one of those, that was easy buttons. Item 7.1.5, a letter of support for a Soba Community Solar Project in Carlton. You all have that in your package. This is pretty well the same request that we received at the last committee of the whole / regular committee of the whole and regular meeting that we had last month. This is just in a different area. This is a request that I received. So what is the wishes of council? Councilor Phil Mooney.
I'll make a motion that we send a letter of support to the Wasoba, for the Wasoba Community Solar Project in Carlton.
Make a recommendation to the regular council, correct?
That's right.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Second by Councilor Daniel Muse. Any discussion about that? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. I will say one thing that I should have mentioned. I was out to a community meeting that they had out at the Carlton Fire Hall in the middle of last month, and it's pretty well the same project, only a little bit larger than the one that council just approved. So, next item on the agenda. Yep. We have items for information. Item 7.1, Nova Scotia Emergency Management Proposed REMO Standards, RCMP 2024 Year in Review, the Community Foundation Nova Scotia Annual Report, response from Minister Durham regarding comprehensive policing review and fundamental Geez, here we go. Fundamental changes. Actually, me and the CEO attended a meeting online here just earlier this week. And Councillor Cushion had asked to have another one for information, so I'm going to turn the floor over to him. Turn on your microphone. It's in regards to an invitation, so you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'm a member of the Community Wellness and Harm Reduction Committee. It's not part of a council, but it's a committee who's trying to get the information out to people who are in trouble. So we are having an information session on October 8th at 6:30 PM at Nova Scotia Community College, which there will be several presentations given, and there'll be several places where people can reach out for help and more information. So I'd like to invite our council to those who could attend, please attend and hear what they have to say. Thank you.
Please repeat the date and time again.
October the 8th, 6:30 PM, Nova Scotia Community College.
Thank you very much for that. Deputy, do you have any, Councillor Cushion, do you have any thing that you could send out in an email in that regards as well?
Sure.
Send it out for correspondence that I
Yep.
can pass around to council, because I got to make sure that I get stuff in writing, because if I don't, it will get forgotten, as that presentation by Michael Tavares, resident out in the residents out in Gardner's Mill. I forgot something. Because if I just get it by someone mentioning it in the meeting or something like that, unless it's actually written down or I have a record of it, I'm going to lose it.
As you get older, it gets worse.
I'm not that far behind him, Councilor Mooney. All right. Here we go. Item number 8, there's no old business.
You forgot one. What about?
Item number 9, new business. Item 9.1, Counselor Orientation and Training Policy 0-088-20. Madam CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the package this evening, Mr. Chair, for Council's review, are revisions to the orientation and training policy. So this policy was stood up a number of years ago in recognition of the complexities involved in being an elected official in municipal government, and trying to create a framework to make sure that the elected officials are supported in their office. So the revisions to the policy are revisions to the very first policy that was adopted by council. So this is the first walk-through revisions after having used the policy for a couple of years. And so I'm recommending a couple of things. In part 2, 2.1, the original goal was to stand up the orientation session within 1 month of the election, recognizing that a lot of municipally elected officials have full-time jobs. That was a bit tight. And so I'm recommending that we give ourselves 2 months to achieve that goal moving forward. In 2.2, I've just suggested a reorganization of the table of contents for the orientation package to kind of better reflect the roles and responsibilities inside municipal government. So, on a high level, there would be, an introduction, kind of executive summary step, and then there would be a heavy focus on the executive office overview, which is council, and the role of council, bylaws and policies, and kind of put all those things together, and then move into the important briefings around operations, and of course, the situation analysis, what's going on with some of the key files. So the amendments are designed to better organize the material from a counselor's perspective. And then part 3 around training. I found that the original adopted policy requiring a full day in the spring and a full day in the fall, again, recognizing that counselors have full-time jobs and that 1 full day may not be required. What may be required are more frequent, shorter types of trainings. So I'm recommending that we take out the requirement for a day, but that we remain committed to a focus on training in the spring and in the fall. And then I'm also recommending some amendments to the frequency of certain types of training and deadlines for certain types of training that are listed in the rest of 3.1 to better reflect the realistic ability to achieve those goals. And then we're recommending the addition of 3.2, which would be very helpful to my office, is to receive training requests from the elected officials to support you where you're feeling that there are gaps. And the other two amendments are just housekeeping and grammar.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Any questions, comments from council? Councillor Cushion, your microphone's still on.
I'm sorry.
Councillor Daniel Muse.
I'd like to say thank you for the staff and the CEO of the training that we did have back in the fall, second time around, and it was actually really good training that we had, because the first time around 20 years ago, I think I had 0 training, so really appreciate the training, but willing to make a motion to recommend a regular council that council orientation and training policy 0-088-20 be approved as presented.
A motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Trevor Perry. I almost called him Trevor Cunningham, but I didn't. I come that close. Discussion? Councillor Trevor Perry, you have the floor.
Jim Baxter.
See, look, if you're looking at my position here, it sort of looks like it's sitting right in front of me. Yeah, a bunch of blue shirts. All right, Councillor Jim Baxter, you have the floor.
Being one of the new counselors, I totally appreciated the orientation that we had. But putting my old training hat on, one thing that I would like to see at some point in the future, and I would love to help you to do this if it's of desire, is to put together a type of training plan, lesson plan with learning objectives focused on the new person and that person looking for the answers rather than you having to create sessions. I think that there's a little bit of a gap there, and I personally feel there's a bit of one. I still find that I have to seek out answers for things that I didn't even know was a question until they pop up as an issue. So I guess I love what you've done. I absolutely appreciate the orientation that we had. Going forward, I'd like to see something a little more concrete on the training part of it and learning objectives for the trainee, which in this case is me. And the focus should be on the trainee to find those answers, but to kind of steer them towards what answers they might need to find. I know it was a mouthful, but if you ever decide to move that way, I would love to help out.
Okay, thank you. There's one thing in here that isn't taken out, acronyms and terms. How could you ever do training for acronyms? Because acronyms are just a part of this world and stuff. Man.
Actually, Mr. Chair, that's a great question. So the table of contents that's there reflects material that's actually in your go-to binder. And so the list of acronyms is in the binder, and there are ones we use all the time, like CAO and MODI. So there is a reference in your binder that you were given electronically, I believe, this time. I don't think, was it hard copy?
No, they
Both.
We have hard copies
Hard
as well.
copies and electronic, yep. Hard copies. I don't know what a carpy is. Copies.
Isn't that a fish?
Carp? Carp? I don't know. You know what I mean.
It's got to be infectious. All right, any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 9.2, a notice of motion was given by Councillor Jim Baxter. Councillor Baxter, you have the floor.
Thank you, Warden. My notice of motion, I'm going to give a little bit of a background first. It's on water security. I don't know if you all realize this, but recently we were upgraded to be in a severe drought situation where we're at on the drought map. and we're not very far from, we're on the border of extreme drought, which isn't too far up Digby way. I'd like to acknowledge concerns. There are concerns on this water security issue of whose responsibility it is. Is it Modi's? And there's also concerns about the fact that water is not free. So I'd like to acknowledge those concerns. When I make this motion, I won't be asking for a financial ask. I won't be asking for investment. What I'm looking for is commitment of time to discuss the issues and problem solve possible solutions. Our last meeting, we discussed some possible solutions about communication. And the driving force behind this motion is that voices of constituents have asked that we be more proactive and have sent letters to us regarding water security. I don't pretend to have all of the answers. Otherwise, I would submit it as a motion not to create a committee for me to look after it, but that's not the case. And I think a committee would look at what our current options are, what we're doing, what possible things we can change to what we're doing today, and what outside of the box solutions there are potentially for water security and making sure that we do have secure water supply. We talked about the water supply lending program last month and the fact that the climate change and drought is worsening, but that the uptake isn't really hitting the beat where it should be. Now, we did mention in the last meeting that there's been some interest in that on communication, which is excellent. So the committee would assess practicality of solutions. Committee membership, I'm going to recommend that REMO would either be present or attend meetings to share their expertise, and that staff will be assisting with research if a committee is decided. And also, lastly, I would like to make sure that everyone is aware that I would be interested in a chairperson nomination if we go with a committee. I would love to lead that. I'm passionate about this. My previous experience would help me to do this in leading teams and focusing teams, brainstorming solutions. But again, the biggest thing is I am passionate about water security. I see my neighbors having issues with dry wells. Last week, I was at the bulk water station, and thank you, Yarmouth, for a bulk water station, but I was there last week, and there were only two of us. I hit there at a good time. There was one truck in front of me. It was an 87-year-old, frail little fellow trying to climb on his wagon to hold that big hose on top of that tub. So, again, that just leads me to, we need help. I don't know what the help is, but we need help with the situation. I did help him because I was the only one there and he hadn't used it before, and bless his heart, he was there to get water for his daughter, 87-year-old climbing on the back of a wagon, filling a tote to get water for his daughter. But all that being said, I'm going to move to the motion next, and after we work our way through the motion, be it positive or negative, I'm going to have a second follow-up motion to make after that. So the motion is, I move that a special committee be created for the purpose of exploring issues related to water security. The committee will be charged with examining potential impacts on residents, agriculture, and community infrastructure, as well as identifying possible mitigation strategies. The committee shall also review historical data on drought conditions and explore best practices and policy options used in other jurisdictions. The committee shall report its findings and provide clear recommendations and options for future action back to council no later than March 1st, 2026. The committee shall consist of 6 to 10 members appointed by the chair in consultation with the staff, with representation from council, community stakeholders, a staff member for documentation and research purposes, and subject matter experts as appropriate. The chair of the committee shall be a member of council.
Okay, motion on the floor, seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushing. I don't know if how the discussion's going to go in this, but I just want to remind council that Typically, in any meeting, you have 2 chances to speak, maximum 5 minutes. If we get down that road and you wish to speak again, that would be on consensus of the councilors, so just keep that in mind. I don't know how long this is going to go. I'm just going to try to lay some ground rules here first. So I guess the first one on the docket, Councilor Baxter, you still have the floor, so if you still wish to speak, you go right ahead.
Nope, I made a motion.
Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
Yeah, thank you, Jim, for making the motion. Thank you, Lauren, for seconding the motion. Yeah, I mean, the water security piece is a big issue all across the province, and certainly for our residents as well, so thank you. I'm assuming, just point of clarification, I'm assuming it's going to be an ad hoc committee after the report sort of filed with council. It would be advisory in nature, and that would be the length of time that the committee would be in force. Is that correct? Is that the intent of the motion? First question.
The intent of the motion is a special committee only to exist until the submission is made to council.
And just another thought is that one of the committee members I would think would want to be, now that could be one of the experts that you draw in, but I would think that because some of our communities are covered by, you know, the town water, that maybe somebody with expertise in that area, because, you know, one of the findings may or may not be, I don't know. I mean, but you certainly want to talk about, you know, the town's infrastructure within the municipality and how that may or may not be expanded, costs, all those types of things. So just that's just a thought off the top of my head that may want to be considered is part of the discussion. I guess those are my comments for now. They're relatively brief, and don't really affect the motion, but just wanted to have those comments on record. Thank you.
Any more discussion? Madam CEO, then Councilor Muse.
Sure. So just for clarity, the current policy framework in the municipality around appointments to any type of committee, standing committee, advisory committee, ad hoc, special, whatever, appointments are made by council, not by an individual. And if there are going to be citizen reps, we actually have a policy around how to recruit for that. So there's a little bit of language in the motion that doesn't really line up with that. But if there's an appetite on council to do this project, a simple motion around amending the motion to stand up the committee according to policy should look after that.
Councilor Muse.
Thank you, Madam CEO, for that, because my question was, I see that it says 6 to 10 members appointed by the chair, but normally as a committee happens, you have to have the committee first to appoint the chair, I think, right? You just don't have a chair, then appoint the committee. It says here that that'd be appointed by the chair in consultation with the staff. So I just was wondering how that would work, but
Madam
normally...
CEO, can you answer that?
Yep, so in the council procedural policy, when committees are being stood up, the indication in that policy is if there are not terms of reference stipulating that council chooses the chair, then the committee itself chooses the chair.
Yeah, but a great passion, Jim. Definitely something is needed there. Don't disagree with you.
Councilor Phil Mooney.
And just looking at the motion, Mr. Chair, the committee shall report its findings and provide clear recommendation and options for future action back to council no later than March 1st, 2026. But when it says provide clear recommendations, and some of those recommendations might be expand the lines for the Yarmouth Water Utility, which is something we have no control over. Like, how can you say, one of the recommendations in one area, you might be able to get another 125 houses on there, but we don't have the wherewithal, the capacity, or the financial means, or any skin in the game when it comes to directing the Yarmouth Water Utility to expand their lines anywhere. Right? So I'd be scared to provide clear recommendations. I'd put recommendations in there and options for future action, but some of those things might be outside of the realm what municipal government does, or what we can provide our citizens with another municipality, that's all. And the water utility, the Yarmouth Water Utility, is actually separate from the town of Yarmouth. It's a standalone entity, right? So I would be scared of some of those recommendations, including any recommendations to tap into the Yarmouth water system.
MCO?
When council is asking citizens to help support work and develop ways forward for challenges that the community is facing, the clearer council is with the authority being delegated and the expectation back, the easier it is to motivate people to want to be part of the solution. So we struggle to get a good volume of applications for citizen appointments now. So to Councillor Mooney's point, when council gives a directive or a mandate to a committee, if there are parameters around what makes good recommendations, it's very helpful to include those parameters, so that the committee doesn't spend time and energy in an area where maybe it's a lame duck recommendation. That's not fair to people. So if council moves forward on this, staff can provide some support to the community in terms of its startup and, you know, the framework around guardrails for recommendations, what they need to address and what they can't address, and some things like that. So if we move forward on this, some support can be given to brushing things up there.
To alleviate that problem.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Who did I just turn on? Deputy Warden.
Yeah, I'll move an amendment to the motion, and that, two parts, that the committee formation adhere to current policy, and that the staff, Modi staff, provide a framework to the committee around, you know, potential recommendations and some parameters around those, so that they're useful and doable or potentially approachable by council.
Okay, amendment made to the motion. Do I have a seconder to that? Seconded by Councillor Jim Baxter. All right, same rules apply. Now that we're on amendment, 2 turns each, 5-minute speaking time. So, Deputy Warden, you still have the floor.
Oh.
I think you do. Next to that bright pink shirt and the sunshine in the background.
Trevor never turns it off.
I will say this much. I was a little leery of the first motion that was made. However, I do like the amendment. But there also needs to be guardrails, because there's nothing worse than sitting on a committee where you can make all the recommendations in the world, and the body that formed that committee would have nothing to do. As Councillor Mooney said, we have no control over the water authority. We don't. That's, if I'm not mistaken, federally regulated? Or is it provincially?
It goes utility review.
Yeah, Utility and Review Board. And some of the recommendations, I would hate to see a committee beating themselves up and making recommendations to council where we have absolutely no authority on. I do believe there's a need to possibly help with the situation, which is only getting worse, unfortunately, over the years for whatever reasons. I was a little, as I said earlier, I was a little leery at the start to support the motion that was on the floor, but if there's guardrails and stuff like that, we follow our current policies in regards to filling committee seats and stuff like that, why not?
And the CAO and Councilor Cunningham addressed that.
Yeah, and absolutely, it was addressed in the amendment that we're currently talking on. So when it came to the first motion that was put forward, I don't think I could have supported it, because I really didn't know where we're going with that. But if there's a clear mandate given to the committee and what they can and can't do and stuff like that, then yeah, I can agree with that. So is there any more discussion on the amendment on the main motion? Councillor Baxter. I think.
Deputy Warden.
Deputy Warden.
I'm quick with the finger. It's like I'm on Jeopardy.
But you don't know the answer.
But I don't know the answer.
But he doesn't need the answer, he needs the question.
Clearly, well,
Sort of like a game of Jeopardy, yeah?
I'll
But he
pick it up,
doesn't need
I'll
the
pick it
answer,
up
he
from
needs the
there, yeah, and I think that's, I was just gonna comment about how well council works together, and I'm appreciative of all of you. around the table, because there was an idea, a concept brought to the table, which was pretty well thought out, and it was certainly a notice of motion, so we had a little bit of time to think about it, and staff and all the councils, so there's a couple of amendments, or one amendment with a couple parts in it, and so I think that makes a good idea that's conceptually sound. We put a few operational pieces on top of it, and we're off the races with, I think, something that will serve the community well. So thank you, Jim, and thank you, everybody around the table. That's my only comment.
I have one more comment, but I'm thinking about how I'm going to say it. I guess this would be a question to staff. Should this motion pass that's currently on the floor in the amendment, is there any other issues that, through staff's experience in helping council out with this, that may be a hindrance? Because I don't want to come to a situation, to a committee being formed and saying, well, we really can't do that. Is there something else on the advice of staff that possibly may be a hindrance?
So there is no budget allocation for this, and while I appreciate Councillor Baxter's positivity, I'm not certain data and research to inform recommendations may be available without some level of investment. My recommendation will be, as the work goes forward, if the committee runs into that issue, we get back with council and we see what we can do about it. There will have to be some concessions made on the council-approved work plan. We're talking about a heavy lift in 6 months. So I will have to go back and look at the work plan, and if this is approved, and let council know what's going to have to wait, what's going to have to be put on the back burner in order to support this. All of our staff are working at their full capacity. So it doesn't matter who we assign to this file, there's going to be an opportunity cost, which I'm not saying is the wrong thing. I just want to put it out there and make sure we're all in agreement. We know the concessions we're making in order to address something that's important.
Thank you for bringing that up, because the reason why I brought that point up is because I do see staff, as you had mentioned earlier, in regards to the program that's currently on, that the municipality is doling out for water and stuff like that. We have 2 staff members. We have Mark Blinn, and we also have Ashley doing that program, which is typically not what they normally do. So I do know that staff is running pretty well at 100% maximum, if not a little bit more, so I'm a little leery of that. But as long as the expectation of council before we vote on the motion is that things may have to be pushed back a little bit, just be prepared. Because if staff comes back saying we can't do that, then just remember there may have to be a few concessions made. Councillor Lauren Cushion.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I think we're getting a little bit outside what Councillor Baxter had mentioned. Sure, we have to, our CAO has to research and find out exactly what we can do and what we can't do and get back to council, then we have to make a decision. I think it's just a matter of some common sense being used here, and I think it's a good idea, but I think, as the CEO mentioned, you know, the staff may be limited in what they can do, but we don't know that until
We get there.
our CAO does the necessary problem solving, or, you know, to make it happen. So let's just move on with it and let our staff do the work to let us know what we can do and what we can't do. Thank you.
Deputy Warden.
Yeah, just to comment, I think the chair, whoever that may be, and I know Jim certainly has an interest in that, but maybe the chair and the CAO can, chair of the committee ultimately, and the CAO can work together. It might be a little bit iterative, like, you know, if there's, because we really don't know what, I mean, it's a big question, and I mean, we can't put, you know, limitations on it too much at the beginning through a council motion. But I think there'll have to be some back and forth and some discussion at the table about, you know, how many resources it's going to take to research this. Is is this reasonable? And if there is something that's particularly interesting or that we may have to dive deeper on, and it may take time or money, then I think that's something, as the CEO's mentioned, I think that makes sense for the chair, CEO, staff, and the committee to come back to council for and say, listen, this is an extraordinary item that's going to take staff time or maybe a consultant's time or whatever it be the case, because I don't know what the discussion is going to look like, what the findings are going to be. So I think those are discussions to have, and bear in mind that, there are other priorities. So I think getting the work done, but at the same time balancing that with current priorities is an important thing, and that's not a very clear piece of advice, but I think those discussions have to be had, and if there's uncertainty at some juncture, then certainly it needs to come back to the council table for further discussion and clarity. So thank you.
All right, any more discussion on the amendment on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Back to the main motion, and I'm going to question the recording secretary, Jenny. Is this a recommendation to regular council, correct? Is that how it's? Okay, I'm just making sure. All right, so the main motion we're back to. Any more discussion on the main motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Anyone that may be watching online and stuff, council, what we just did is we just moved this forward to regular council, which will be happening in 2 weeks' time. So that gives us a little bit of a chance for a sober second thought. That's the reason why this is called a committee of the whole. There may be changes in thoughts of councilors. There may be a little bit of public input to change councilors' mind, that we may or may not move forward with the thing that's recommended to regular council. But once we vote on it in regular council, that's when staff will be moving forward with it. So just wanted to make that clear. Deputy Warden.
Yeah, it's not a question, but it's just something you said just piqued my interest. We're going to think about the motion, how it's been, and I think it is pretty good. But we talked about all those other pieces. So if there's anything that any of the councilors or staff could bring forward before the next period to sort of further solidify that kind of budgetary staff time type thing, that may be useful to, and that would provide the guardrail and guidance for the committee work. So if there's anything that staff or council could do as a whole before, we may want to make an additional amendment or have a public conversation about that, so everybody's clear coming in, because I think it's better to clarify it before the committee starts than I was thinking about that iterative process going back and forth while the committee's running, but then folks may say, I didn't sign up for this, or, the mandate was this wide, and now you're saying it's this wide, and the budget, we thought we'd be able to explore, all this vast array of things, and in fact, it's going to be somewhat limited, so I think that would be my recommendation. Thank you.
No, the reason why I brought that up is because it was mentioned to me, it was ironic, in that presentation we had Michael Tavares, someone else during that car show had mentioned to me, he says, well, whenever you guys make a motion, it's a done deal. I said, no, it depends on where it is, a committee of the whole or not. So, just wanted to make that clear. No, it wasn't you, Councilor Mooney. I could hear you, though, halfway up Main Street there over all those cars. Yeah, you were at the golf course, that's right. All right, item number 9.3, the addition, where did I write that? Item 9.3, a strong man in Canada, Councillor Daniel Muse had asked to add this to the agenda. Councillor Muse, you have the floor.
All right, in case you guys don't know, we happen to have the strongest man in Canada in the 90 kg class. Back in February, he went to Saskatoon. His name is Brian Bowers. He went to Saskatoon, and he won the category of 90 kgs weight class to be the strongest man in Canada. In being the strongest man in Canada in 90 kg class, he's now going to represent Canada in Africa, Cape Town. He is the only Nova Scotian to make Team Canada, and he happens to be from Nova Scotia. happens to be from Yarmouth County, and he's a member of Modi. So, and he's the strongest man in Canada in that weight class. So he's attending the Worlds in Africa on October the 12th. Brian Bowers is a locally owned businessman who supports the community in every which way you can imagine, from churches to sick children to whatever. Very humble man, would never ask a dime from anybody. He's going to this Africa on his own dime. I feel that we should be helping this gentleman out and sponsoring him to help fund, a very small portion of his travels, especially because A, he represents Modi, and B, he's the strongest man in Canada. So I'm wanting to make a motion to move to regular council of September 22nd to sponsor the strongest man in Canada in the 90 kg category from Modi, Brian Bowers, in the amount of $500.
Okay, a motion on the floor, seconded by Councillor Phil Mooney. Discussion on that? I do have one question, Madam CEO, and it's regards to policy. I do remember all kinds of grant requests and stuff that come through. Number one, I don't ever remember giving it to an individual. It's always been grants to organizations or groups. And number two, there was typically letters that were associated with that. So does that contravene to any of our policies that council currently has?
So the enabling power comes from Section 65 of the Municipal Government Act, which sets out council's authorities for expenditures. You have to approve a budget, you have to operate within your budget. When it comes to granting money, you have to have a policy around that, you have to advertise that. Your policy around grants references groups and organizations. So my question would be, if Mr. Bowers is part of Team Canada, can a donation be made to Team Canada to support that particular individual? If that's the case, then you would be within your grants policy and you could take it out of your contingency amount in that policy.
So I'm not
Councillor Muse?
I'm not actually asking for a grant. I'm asking us to sponsor him. I believe council can pretty much do, if council wants to spend $500, I think it's up to our council if we spend $500. I just feel that I looked at your proposal and talked about your grants and stuff, but I'm not asking for a grant, I'm asking for a sponsorship. Totally different thing out of our contingency. When I asked him, because he wasn't about to ask me this, I just happened to be in his store and said, wow, like, are you paying for this you by yourself? He said, yeah. And it's Team Canada is not paying for this. He's representing Team Canada, and they're giving, but they're not funding anything. So this is just a time for us to show our roots and show our community that we have the strongest man. This is the World's. This is not the strongest man in Arcadia. It's the strongest man in Canada. And I feel that if this is a precedent, I would sponsor anybody, even if it's marbles. I don't really care what it is. But I just feel that being Modi, we need to support our local people in what they do, whether they're not-for-profit or individuals. Strongly believe that Modi should be backing this young man up. I guess he's not young, he's 60, but backing him up and saying, hey, we support you in what you're doing, and you are representing not only Canada, but Nova Scotia and Modi. So I think there's a way for us to find the money of $500.
Could I speak to that clarification, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Madam CEO?
Yep, so thank you, Councillor Muse, for the clarification, because if it's going to happen outside of the grants policy, then we relate it to a different section of the spending authorities in the Municipal Government Act, and I'll read you 65A5. In the event of ambiguity in whether or not the municipality has the authority under this or any other act to spend money or to take any other action, the ambiguity may be resolved so as to include rather than exclude powers the municipality had on the day before this section came into force. So if it's sponsorship, which we spend sponsorship dollars out of the advertising budget, then as long as there's money left in the budget, then I'm not seeing any issues with respect to policy or legislation.
Thank you for that clarification, Madam CEO. Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
So that's good. Thank you for all the questions and discussion. Thank you, Madam CEO, for clarifying that around the two different ways that we could go about funding this. And I agree conceptually. I think it's a good idea to support people that do exceptional things in our community, and you know, it's good to be associated, Modi to be associated with that type of an event. And in any event, I think maybe we could, as a council, give. I guess you've already really done the due diligence, but depending on where the dollars come from, I mean, maybe we could research the other way as well, just to have the answer at hand for the next council meeting. So if it were to come out of grants, then is that something we could do? But obviously, it can come out of sponsorship. So I guess maybe it's a moot point. We could take it from the sponsorship dollars and yeah. In any event, I guess it's being moved on to, has a motion been?
Yes, it has.
Motion's been passed, has it?
No,
No, it's on the floor, okay. My apologies.
we're discussing it right now. Councilor Lauren Cushing.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Did we not, a few years ago, sponsor the guy who was lifting rocks or something like this? Didn't we have nothing to do with that?
We didn't sponsor him.
We didn't sponsor
I
him?
don't think so.
That we never gave no money towards his organization he was in or anything like this? Okay. All right, thank you for that. But however, Councilor Muse certainly brought up a very important subject that Brian is a part of our municipality. He is representing not only Canada, but he representing the municipality of Yarmouth. And he has a big bill to pay to get to South Africa, Cape Town, and I can't see why we can't fine a few bucks for him. Thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Vote is 6-1, motion carried. All right, moving on. That's the end of the new business. Item number 10, public comments. We don't have any. All right, I need a motion for a 5-minute recess before we go into camera. Okay, a motion for a 10-minute recess. We have a seconder, second by Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you.